Okay, joined by Chairman Danny Hunter. Danny, firstly, it's been a while since we last spoke. I believe it was the day before we announced Ross Jenkins as our new head coach. I guess we'll start with pre-season. Obviously, the players have had various different tests, some challenging games. Just curious what your initial assessment of the pre-season has been so far.
It's been okay. It's a different brand of football. I think supporters seem to be enjoying it. Yeah, it's early days, so the football's pretty, and and it's feet football, but it's also some suicide defending and all the other bits that go with it. But that's what pre-season's about, and I'm sure by the time we get to Bath in 12 days' time, hopefully we've ironed out the issues at the back, and we've got a few more, players in, which we're going to need, because although the squad is strong, there's not enough depth to it at the moment, and I know what you need to win titles at this level and get promotions from this level. So yeah, it's okay, but there's still a lot to work on.
Yeah, obviously, last season's relegation, you've shown where your target is this season with the investment you've put in, especially in the first team. If you look at some of the players that we've retained, also brought back, if you look at Erico and some of the signings, you mentioned there that you're potentially looking at getting a couple more in before the season starts?
We'll have a couple more, 2 or 3 in before the end of the week. I'm not really that happy with how recruitment's gone. We were sidelined really, and with an issue whether we were going to get reprieved or not. I won't go into it, but it was. But yeah, it meant our recruitment stalled. I've gone into that a little bit in my programme notes, but we now know where we are, so we've got to get on with it, and everybody knows our intentions. Our intentions are promotion, but there'll be no sentimentality from me this year. There'll be no over sense of loyalty or anything else. This is a good squad. The players have been great. They've stayed with us, and these are all National League players that have stayed with us. And to bring Erico back, I've got to thank Charlie hugely for playing a big part in that. And as I say, we'll get busy this week, and as we did last week, and hopefully the supporters will see a few coming in, which we just need to make sure that they're strong, and the squad's strong. And we can hit the ground running. Yeah. All cliche.
Yeah. So you mentioned the target is obviously to bounce straight back up. First time of asking, what needs to be almost a clear messaging from yourself to not only the players but also to the staff around the whole football club?
There doesn't need to be any messaging. They already know it. They know the ambition of the club. They know the setup of the club. We must be doing something right for people to be with us. We've lost a couple of junior members of staff, but loyalty isn't that strong with the younger members of staff. They're looking to see where their futures lie, and although I respect that, I think some of our senior players know why they're here, and they want to win a title for us. But there's a lot of good sides in this league. I know Dorking, obviously, they've got the chirpy owner, haven't they, Mark? I mean, Mark's very sort of buoyant and positive that they're going to win it. You've got good sides in it, like Maidstone, and a whole host of clubs. Chelmsford finished second last year, and so there's a lot of good clubs. Bath, who come here, are going to be a decent side, and there's always one or two that are going to surprise you. So it's going to be a tough league. Hopefully, we've given ourselves enough to be competitive, and we've got to be humble, hard-working, and we've got to respect the level. If we can do that, I think we can have a good season.
Obviously, investment hasn't just gone on the pitch, there's been big works done off it. If you look at the new scoreboard, I know you've had a busy summer, Danny, obviously enjoying the Euros. And can you just talk a bit about how your summer's been for the whole projects going around the club?
Yeah, it's been stressful. as running a football club is stressful, especially if you get relegated. We've lost a manager. We've lost a lot of the reasons why we got relegated. So there's a different mindset now. So again, you come to this stage of the season, and when you get to May, obviously there was a slight, there's a slight sort of trepidation. How would it go? How would season tickets go? How would pre-season go? We went for we had to look at bringing new managers in. I went through a process of interviews and presentations, and I learnt a lot. And with that, but football's still about playmakers, destroyers, and finishers, and man management. And some of the twaddle you hear nowadays, I mean, it's just that. It's talking for talking's sake, I mean, you can analyse two flies going up a wall, but but in the end, it still comes down to players and people, and I'm hoping that we've got the right type of people, the right type of players that understand what it takes to be winners. And there's a huge difference between playing pretty and playing purposeful football, and we've got to get a balance. So my summer has been stressful. The reprieve, the non-reprieve, made it even more so. So it's probably felt like a double relegation. The Euros that you wanted to know about were sensational, because we were there, me and my son, for pretty much a month. I met a lot of Bournemouth fans out there, whether I was sharing a coffee with Barry, etc., in Dusseldorf, or seeing other lads in Cologne, and everywhere in between. So that was my 12th tournament with England, and we make a lot of friends and a lot of memories along the way. And Gareth Southgate was, as much as people might want to kill him when he's in post, they all should be careful what they wish for, because certainly since he's come in, the memories I've got in Russia, and the memories I've had around the world, guitar, and in Germany, etc., and even the Euros when they were based here and at Wembley was incredible. And he transformed us. People forget we had Roy Hodgson, Gary Neville, and Ray Lewington, and he didn't go for us. And rather than lambast people, I just think sometimes you've got to see that after Sam Allardyce got his one game in, Gareth did amazing for us, and he's going to be a tough act to follow.
Okay, Dan, we'll bring it a bit back to this season. Obviously, we've had a bit of pre-season now, and obviously season tickets have been on sale. Obviously, following relegation, you may have expected them to go down. Has the crowds and the season tickets been a bit disappointing for you?
Yeah, of course it has. But you've got the Euros, you've got all manner of things. Money's tight, and people have got to choose where they're going to spend their money. We've tried to make the season tickets as cheap as pretty much all the clubs in the division. But I've also, I made a promise to the supporters, and that I'd stay full time, which I've done. But there's only so much we can do. In terms of pre-season, compared to last year, we've come in this year on a total crowd over pre-season in and around 2,500, whereas last year it was way over 9,500. So we're sort of 75% down on that. Season tickets we're 60% down on. I know people may think, or people inside the club may think that'll pick up, but I think the die's cast. I think we are where we are. I've got more budget meetings to have with my bookkeeper, and obviously I'll make sure I put my hand in my pocket and give ourselves every opportunity to get out of this division. But it can be only one title winner, so we know how tough that's going to be.
Yeah, and some news obviously coming around that the National League is they've just signed a new broadcasting deal with DAZN. Obviously TNT have been good broadcasters for the National League. Can you just talk us a bit about that deal?
Not really. You find this board are getting, it's strange to me. If you could imagine the Premier League going into doing a deal with Sky or BT Sport, whoever, TNT, but not discussing it with their clubs, that shows you how strange. This is a streaming channel. I've got experience of this company because obviously we host Arsenal Women and Arsenal Development in Europe. So we've been given no information whatsoever. I've had no courtesy call from the board. I've had no information, no document to look at, nothing to analyse what the pros or the cons are. And they've gone and signed a 7-year deal. So just put that into context. They've signed away a 7-year broadcasting deal, and the chairman and owners at our level haven't even been, nothing's been discussed with us. Nothing's been communicated to us. And it was brought out really on a Sunday morning where you find in a lot of things, it's the 5 o'clock Friday email, and it's where people are going to get less pushback. So they've gone and promoted it on the Sunday. But no, I'm not happy. I'm not saying it's not a good deal. I'm not saying it is a good deal. But you've asked me a question. Basically, what do I know? And I know absolutely nothing. And yet I'm an owner of 25 years. And could you imagine Rick Parry and not discussing a deal with the EFL to the clubs? I'm sure the clubs discussed the TV deals that it's done, and TNT were good. Could we have got a better deal? I'm sure we could, but I'm not sure that they probably pulled out because of the streaming that the National League decided to do, which really only came in for Notts County and for Wrexham. We're a league that needs supporters in the ground, and now this streaming service could be anything. All I know is 7 years is an awful long time. I might not be alive by the time this deal finishes. I'm 62 now. So it would have been nice to have had a phone call, maybe had a meeting with all the chairmen so we could all, in the league telling us what the benefits, because you have your upsides and your downsides, you have your pros and your cons. But I'm sure the board, with all their multi-million-pound business expertise sitting on it, which is embarrassing, maybe in hindsight should think occasionally, clubs, chairmen and owners, we know our stuff, and it would have been nice to have been consulted.
Obviously, Dan, we now sit here less than 2 weeks away from the season starting. We welcome Bath City at home. You've mentioned throughout this interview there's been maybe some slight changes from staff away from the pitch as well as on it. What is the things that's needed to be done in these less than 2 weeks now before the season starts to ensure that we hit the ground running?
Clarity of thought. It's all right playing pretty football. It's also about not conceding as well as scoring goals, improving the squad, ensuring across the board that investment is in place, that I know, exactly where I am with budgets. I'm not going to be, with no disrespect to Woking, you're not going to see me saying I need a 600 grand loan, or I'm not going to be a Southend where, perhaps, things have been difficult. I run the club slightly different to that, as you know, but that doesn't mean I've got any less ambition. But I would, so there's lots of those bits and pieces. The pitch is going to be the best in the league. I'm very, very grateful for the loyalty of our players and for the majority of the staff. A lot of them have been with me a long time. We need to tighten up on certain things across the board. I want to put the money on the pitch. I want to improve our community initiatives, which I'm not quite happy that they've gone as I would have liked. So just bits and pieces like that. If you look over the last 12 months, we've built a new glass house, we've built the new scoreboards, we've completely gone through all the study suites, they've all been redecorated and done. I've improved the first team changing rooms, we've improved the Astra pitches and car parks and everything else. But that's all ongoing. I'm going to try and have work with the local authorities if I can on the south end of the ground, but that's proving difficult due to, they seem to have issues with how they're going to submit their planning application, which changes somewhat. So we can't really get going on what we need to do without them knowing what they need to do. They certainly need to improve issues in the park, with the splash parks and the muck away and all that type of stuff. And I can only react off of what they do. So they're the things that are concerning me to do. Other stuff like a new 5-year deal with education providers, SCL, have been completed. And I'm sure Arsenal will be announcing with us very, very soon two new 10-year agreements covering the girls and covering the boys, which we're very excited about. I know there's been a lot of talk about that, but trust me, I've looked after Arsenal for 25 years, and nothing's changed on that score. So we're very, very strong on the pitch, off the pitch, and there's no danger of us lacking investment. And you've still got a chairman that's going to put his hand in his pocket. I don't want to be a regional chairman. I don't want this club to be in a regional league or get used to it. I want it to have ambition, to push on, respect the level, be humble, work hard, and hopefully, have a season that gives us, something, historical to look back on and say that, season 24-25 was an amazing year for our football club. And also I've just announced a new club president. We lost, obviously, our founding father, Bill O'Neill. And we've now got Peter Smith in post. Peter was here when my dad was manager, in the 60s. He's been with me every day of my ownership. And again, so I'm very, very proud that and humbled that he's accepted the new club president's position. And so we'll go into the new season with all the key elements in place, but we've still got a bit of improvement over the next month to give us the impetus that we need.
Yeah, we completely touch on the presidency. Obviously, we've lost two key people associated with the club since we last spoke, Bill O'Neill and also more recently Alan Swan. Can you just talk about what they meant to the club and obviously their importance and how you felt, obviously, hearing the news that they were no longer with us?
I've covered Peter Smith, I think, in the previous my previous answer. In terms of Alan Swan, Alan was an amazing guy. He was hugely important to me, and he's helped me not just he was one of my inner circle. So, if I needed advice at times, I'd go to him, and trust me as well, he invested in the club. And he knew as they say, he knew his onions. Again, he's helped me over the years when I've needed, a bit of reassurance on one or two things. He's always been there. So to lose him is a huge blow, because it was also unexpected, So yeah, we've got Alan's wake here at the club on Sunday, which we're hoping some of our more loyal and long-serving supporters will come in, and we've got Alan's family and that here, and we'll celebrate his life as well, because it's okay to mourn, Of course it is, but there's an awful lot to celebrate, and so that'll be something that'll be bittersweet on Sunday, but it's something that needs to happen, and hopefully that'll be the precursor to us getting off and maybe having a really successful season in his honour.
Just finally, Dan, obviously less than 2 weeks away from the season. I keep mentioning season tickets still on sale with nice initiatives in them as well. Have you just got a message to the Wood Army and to the Wood fans going into the new season?
No, they know me, they know the club. You know, they're really happy, I think, with the facility that we're building. We're not finished yet. I still want to get down to the south end of the ground. We've got great partners, great sponsors. We've got a good side. Hopefully the manager can mould them into a side that, you know, plays winning football. So there's not really a message. If the club and the town and the community has ambition, then it needs to turn up. I can't do it on my own. They know that. The club's in a strong position, but it's going to need a crowd here for the players to react to. And we say that every year, but it's true. This year probably more than ever, because there's going to be a lot less fans at the other end. So yeah, no messaging. If we don't get support here, we won't get promoted. If we get support here, we've got a chance. But again, you know, all things considered, we're in a far better position going into this league than we was when we left it. So the rest of it, we'll just have to wait and see, and hopefully they'll stick with us and stick with me. I'll stick with them, and let's go and do everything we can, and hopefully, you know, we'll nick an historical season, and we'll win it.